Hi, my name is Scott Ogburn, and I am in Richmond, Virginia, and I own 6 territories. So before Footprints Floors, immediately before Footprints Floors, I owned and still own a franchise helping families find assisted living. And I did that for 8 years and was able to build that business up with employees, so it kind of is self-running, and I was not having to put in a lot of time with that, which is where I wanted to be. Before that, I was a missionary in Albania for 7 years, and we got back from Albania in 2011. And then before that, I was actually a high school math teacher. So I've done lots of things, but really throughout high school and college and 2 graduate schools, I worked in construction to help pay the bills. So I actually have a construction background and am a contractor. So getting into Footprints Floors wasn't a massive leap for me. Yeah, so the thing that struck a chord with me with Footprints is, even though it's an entirely different business than the other franchise that I own, they both share in common that they were trying to serve people. And with my first franchise, that really is just the goal. And the owner of that, the guy who started that, has a massive heart for people. And to be able to join in with that was a real privilege, and still is, because I'm still managing that franchise as well. But I think that because Brian has a servant attitude, he attracts people who want to serve as well. So I feel like the whole Footprints family, to a large extent, has that attitude. Brian is a great leader of Footprints Floors because he's a servant leader. Brian's whole mission is to make our job better, to equip us to be able to serve our clients to the maximum. And I can't overstate that enough. He really has a servant heart. He's excellent at flooring. Brian is excellent at flooring, and he has learned so much during his time, but he just wants to pass that on to us and keep improving all the systems that will help us make more money, help us to, again, serve the families that we're serving better. Well, I think when you think about Brian and his background, for me, it's impressive that he went to the Air Force Academy. I mean, I think that's, they don't just accept anybody, and you have to have a certain amount of discipline to do that, and organization. And I have definitely seen that as I've gotten into Footprints, and that has been helpful for me as a person who's not overly organized to adopt some of his systems and use them to help me be successful at this. I think one of the things that impressed me about Brian as well is just the fact that he did Footprints Floors himself for so long, and his story is really one of almost stumbling into the business. It's not like he started everything out and said, man, I think I want to grow. It's got to be one of the fastest national growing franchises in history. I don't know. It's just amazing how this thing has grown. But he didn't start out to do that. It's because of the quality of what he did at the beginning that it grew that way. That impressed me. Actually, my franchise coach, when I was looking for another franchise to buy, he had brought several franchises to my attention, and I had explored them. I believe he had mentioned Footprints Floor at the beginning, but I wasn't tuned into it. And then after about a month or two of kind of poking around, he brought it back up. And he actually pointed to the map of the growth that Footprints had done for the previous year, because this was back in like September of 2020. And it was like, wow, it's gone from Colorado to the Southeast. I mean, it's just like, it's incredible, the growth that it's had. And that really impressed me. So, but then once I dug into more of what is the actual history of Footprints and how Brian started in Colorado and then kind of had to go national with it, then brought on the right people to make the national franchising possible. Again, I was just really impressed with it, because I don't really want to be hitched to somebody who is out to build something so they can sell it. You know, Brian, I mean, maybe he'll sell it, but I don't know. But he's not, I don't get the impression that he's out like that way. He's just trying to serve people and do a great job at it. I think everybody loves their CSR. And how my CSR helps me do my business, setting those appointments for me is golden. I mean, just to be able to open up your calendar, your Google Calendar, and see all those estimates populated is fabulous. To go to a customer and be talking with them and they say, oh, y'all are so professional. You know, the lady that you had answer the phone was just great. And it sets the stage. So when I walk in, it's already a warm situation that I'm walking into because they know that we're a professional organization. And of course, I'm allowed to just continue that on, not only during the estimate, but with the follow-up. But it all starts with the CSR, and they do a great job. So my CSR helps me better serve my customers because they are doing that whole talking to them at the very beginning, setting expectations for them about when we're coming, the emails, the texts that they do with customers is just fabulous. One thing that I hear from customers is, I was so surprised to hear so quickly from you, and that just really impresses them. So I think their customers are often used to interacting maybe with blue collar in a way that is not professional. And so when blue collar acts professional, they're actually a little bit thrown off by it and very pleasantly surprised. So one of the ways, or one of the few ways that my CSR helps me as an owner kind of manage my time and do things is in an efficient way, is we have discussed the way that I want my day to play out. So the typical arrangement for most Footprints owners is morning time is spent starting jobs, checking up on jobs, making sure things are going well. And then the latter part of the day is spent on sales. And so my CSR knows when to schedule tours. So for me as a new franchisee, at first I was starting to do my sales at 10 o'clock, and I would do my job management in the morning till 10. But now, since I've gotten busier, I've moved that to 11. And all that was just a text to my CSR and said, hey, I want to start moving things till 11 o'clock. And voila, it happens. All my jobs or estimates started after 11 o'clock. And then also because of the structure of my territory, I have a river running through Richmond, and we have discussed how I want some of my bids on, like, I think Tuesdays and Thursdays to be north of the river, and for Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays to be south of that. And so she handles that, and she's very flexible. Sometimes I have customers call me and say, hey, I can't quite do it. Well, she reschedules those for me. So I don't have to do all that follow-up with them. And that's just, it's awesome. I think probably the most intimidating thing for me when I first started out with Footprints Floors is thinking about hiring crews to do the jobs. And every franchise owner that I've listened to has said the same thing. So it's still kind of a little bit of a scary thing to hire them because you never know what they're going to be like. But I've gone through enough of them to feel like I can ask better questions now up front, which is really important because your relationship really starts from that very first conversation that you have with them and kind of sets the boundaries. And because we're the parent, so to speak, and you really need to establish those boundaries with them, but also develop a friendship with them, because you want to treat them well. And so hiring them now has become a lot easier, but I'm still always looking for crews, and you will always be looking for crews, always. Now, what really sealed the deal for me was when I went on my back porch one night and I listened to all the calls that they had recorded, the validation calls. And I listened to probably 8 or 9 months worth of validation calls that night. So it was about 8 hours that I listened to them. And with each succeeding one, all the questions were answered. And actually, probably one of the biggest questions that kept coming up again and again is our fear of, what about hiring crews? And they all said, well, this first few months are difficult, but you're going to work through crews, and and it's true. the first few months are difficult, but you're going to find good crews, and then you're going to be more confident, and then your sales are going to go up because you're more confident in it. But you've got to go through those first few months. If you don't take a step, you'll never start a journey. I mean, it's just so cliche-ish, but it's really true. And now that I've been in it for about 4 months now, I've already got great crews that I'm using on a continual basis. They're already saying, hey, give us more work. My customers are giving me great compliments on them. My reviews are going up. More people are going online and finding me because of the great reviews, and it's a virtuous cycle that way. But I really did have to kind of pay that price at the beginning. But it was listening to the franchise owners on those validation calls that really helped me get over that hump, if I had any, of do I want to do this? So I think some advice that I have for potential franchise owners is to really try to understand what the potential of something is and to get your head wrapped around that. And I think as franchise buyers, we are initially drawn into that. We're certainly not going to look at something if we don't think it's going to give us profit or give us more free time. But then it can quickly turn into, yeah, but what about this? But what about that? And all these pitfalls. And there's always pitfalls to anything. The sky can fall at any time. For me, the thing about Footprints was, the thing that really drew me into Footprints was the whole, if I spend money on advertising, I will get estimates. And then that puts the ball squarely in my court. All I have to do is to go on those estimates and convince those customers to buy from me. But that's something that I can learn to do. But the whole system that they have to bring me to the client, it's already done. All I have to do is put in money, and out comes estimates. So all the other pitfalls with the crews and with, am I actually going to be able to do it? Those are things that are scary. But for me, I felt confident that I could overcome those things, that I could be a better salesman. I already know that I have some sales skills, but I obviously have room for improvement, and I felt like Brian could help me with that. And I felt like I was a little scared about hiring crews, but I also knew that Brian was going to help me with that. And there was a lot of support. So for me, the objections that I had for Footprints or for any franchise, I could see where they could be met, and I was satisfied with the answers that I was getting. So a franchise owner, I can only speak for myself about how quickly I could have started paying for myself. And I could have started the first month to give myself some money. Now, this is not paying back all my franchise fee. It's not paying for my training and stuff. I'm just saying, if in 1 month I spent money on advertising, I spent money on insurance, those kinds of just month by month expenses, I was cash flow positive the first month. The things that allowed me to be successful the first month, and I had a full month, and it was in December of the year, so not exactly the greatest month to start a business, again, was the great training that I had, and I had the estimates the day that I came back. I had estimates that I went on. I actually was able to land the very first estimate that I went on. That was really fortunate. 2 other jobs that week, and it was because of the training. I just determined when Brian taught us how to do the sales, I was going to do the sales just like Brian had taught us. And that's what I did. And it works. And there's ups and downs. That month, I didn't get every, bid that I put out there. And since then, I definitely haven't. I've got tons of room for improvement. And my numbers aren't where I want them to be. But the training was good, and it helped me. And I was successful. I think it's a franchise. Follow the formula. If you're in the corporate world, save yourself. Run, flee, be in charge of your own destiny. They can fire you tomorrow. You have no control. But if you own your own business, then the success is completely up to you. If that scares you, maybe it's not for you. But if that excites you, you should buy Footprints.